Jalaluddin Muhammad Rumi, also known as Jalaluddin Muhammad Balkhi, Maulana, popularly known as Rumi, was a 13th century poet, Hanafi faqih, Islamic scholar, theologian, and Sufi mystic, originally from Greater Khorasan in Greater Iran. And to take us through his journey is Brother AbuBakr Karolia, who's been joining us every week in our Ramadan series since the beginning of Ramadan. And this is our fourth and final episode on Rumi, his history and teachings. The topic is so vast and there's so much of intense discussion around everything that we unfortunately couldn't squeeze everything in, but we're going to do our best to bring in as much as possible. Let's welcome our guest, Brother AbuBakr Karolia. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, Najma. It's really a pleasure to be on your show. I've been learning myself about Rumi and the Prophet in Islam as well as I do the show. And also greetings to your guests, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept the du'as. And may we all find a little qadr in this next few nights, inshallah.
Ameen. So very quickly, let's do a recap of last week's program. And then, we spoke about, we just introduced the Masnavi. So let's
Yeah.
do a quick recap.
Look, the Masnavi is a very vast book. It is one of the most influential works of Sufism and, in fact, Islam as well. In fact, Jami, who is known to be a poet, a real poet, Rumi is not really known as a poet. He's more known as a Maulana, a theologian, a person that's didactically teaching Islam. He teaches, in other words, even the Rumi, even the Masnavi is actually a process of teaching. So people would respond to what he was teaching. And the Masnavi was sort of constructed almost like on a day-to-day basis, like almost like the Quran. The Quran was revealed in 23 years, and the Masnavi, as events took place and there was wisdom needed, and then Rumi would construct the necessary process of teaching people about the Masnavi. So just in a summary sense, as we know, it is about 25,500 odd verses with 50,000 lines. It is something that we must understand, Najma, that this particular text is a spiritual text, and it's not just poetry. It teaches people on how to reach the goal of truly being with Allah and dealing with the love of Allah. This is the crux of this entire aspect of the Masnavi. Okay, and as we dealt with in the past, the kind of erasure of Islam in Western texts. And I think there's so much more still to come when we regard this particular view that I've just mentioned to you. The meaning of the Masnavi means spiritual couplets, and you must know that it deals with Quran, the Sunnah, the Hadith, as I've mentioned. So Masnavi was started around about when Rumi was around about 54. As we know, Usama Duin had challenged him to say, look, listen, now Rumi, you're running around, you're walking around, you need to focus. And that's when I think Rumi gave him the poem, The Song of the Reed. And the Song of the Reed is an amazing poem. It's the first poem in the Masnavi. And you must remember, the Masnavi does not only have poems, it also has stories as allegories, which are teaching as well. So I just want to read a few verses of the Song of the Reed, so our listeners just get a sense of it. I'll read it slowly.
Okay. Before you do that, sorry to interrupt, Brother Abu. I just want to know how easily interpretable, if you like, is it? Is it? Does one have to really understand each line? It's Shakespearean. You have to analyze every sentence and word. So when you read the songs, or the poem, the Song of the Reed, then maybe we'll get an understanding of the depth of his writing and his teachings within the writing, of course.
Yes, I think it's a wonderful question that you ask. And in fact, it is something that we need to consider when we look at Rumi's poetry. You must also remember that in the time of the Prophet, in fact, there were people that the Prophet later on would ask them to recite poems for the love of Allah and for the love of Islam and things like that. So There was poetry later on that is very widely accepted by Islam, although in the beginning there was some questions mark about it, and there are some perspectives about what poetry means. And I did explain briefly last time. When we do another show, maybe I can talk about it. Now, this
Mm.
particular poem and the poems that are there does require some of our attention. Okay, you have
Mm.
to also know the way Rumi was constructing a poem in his context. Like for example, in the Song of the Reed, he quotes so many aspects of what is Islam. And if you don't have this knowledge of Islam, for example, who is Adam alayhi salam, or who is Bibi Hawa alayhi salam, who is the Prophet sallam, or who were the people that he was in touch with that actually dealt with the nature of the self. For example, in
Uh-huh.
those days, there was Galen, there was other people that were studying these aspects of the nature of the self. So they mention names in random almost. So you have to go and look it up, and you have to go and study. So the people should know that we done Rumi classes. And what happens in the Rumi classes, believe me, is just amazing for the knowledge that you actually get. It's
Mm-hmm.
so beautiful that people can't get enough out of it, in the sense of what a particular selected poem would be. So we
Right.
actually started also many years ago with the Song of the Reed, and I would like the listeners to start to look at some of that ideas of that poem slowly. And there are lots of information on the internet. Be careful
Mm.
about that. Who you actually dealing with and who's talking to you. I will give some sense of references at the end of the type of people that they can look at and address, and they will learn so much more. So I'm going to start reading the poem now, Najma.
Go ahead.
Now listen to this reed flute's deep lament about the heartache being apart has meant. Sin from the reed bed they uprooted me. My songs express each human's agony. A breast which separation split in two in what I seek to share this pain with you. When kept from their true origin, all yearn for union on the day they can return. Now it's a longer poem. I'm not going to go further. I just want to know that what is now the reed we're lamenting about. It is
Mm.
almost in a sense is about us in a way. We're talking about us. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So in a sense, this is a story of each one of us. Because if you look at the Adam alayhi salam and Bibi Hawa, they were for people from Jannah, you know. And the beauty of that is such that when you are from Jannah and you are
Mm.
in Jannah, so how is it that we found ourselves on earth? You
Mm-hmm.
see? So this is what the reed is crying about. Hey, you know what? I used to be in Jannah. Now I'm plucked out of Jannah. Now I'm in this other domain. So how do I get back? You hear what I'm saying?
Yes, indeed.
So the idea
So,
of
so does it develop into some sort of guidance in that regard?
it does, but not exactly. You have to actually interpret it, and that is what requires an effort. Like the Quran, for example. You
Yeah.
see, that's why Jami used to look at the Masnavi and said that it's a commentary. It's a Persian commentary of the Quran. So, in other words, he's trying to tell you that you have to look at the different words of the poems that are out there in the particular
Mm.
Masnavi.
Mm.
So we were in paradise, Adam alayhi salam and Bibi Hawa, and then all of a sudden we expelled ourselves because we didn't understand our nature and what is to be in paradise. Many people actually sort of look at this, and some of the sort of the questions in the stories that are there, and they said Musa alayhi salam asked Adam alayhi salam, he said, "Hey, you were up there, but you're the one that got us down here." He said, So
Mm-hmm.
in a kind of a way that is just a story from Allah knows best about
Sure.
these stories.
Mm-hmm.
So Adam alayhi salam responded, he said, yes, but why was on Allah's throne written La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah? You know, so beautiful ideas of these stories just to give us a focus to the fact of who Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was, who was the Khatam al-Nabi wa ma arsalnaka illa rahmatan lil alamin, in terms of his own universal idea of the worlds in terms of the mercy. So when you are in Jannah, according to Adam alayhi salam and Bibi Hawa, so all of a sudden you find yourself on this earth. So the reed flute is a symbol of that, Najma. It's
Uh-huh.
crying out, lamenting, it wants to get back. Okay.
Alhamdulillah.
So
Mm-hmm.
so Rumi says, what you are seeking is actually seeking you. And you have to find it. You see, so the secret of secrets in the idea of what Rumi is trying to portray, that we can't see our ruh that knows Allah. Allah says in the Quran in Surah Al-Araf, He said, I think it's verse 172, He said that, am I not your Lord? Alastu bi Rabbikum. And the soul replies, Bila Shahidna, I testify that you are. And then in the same verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that, well, look, I've asked you this question, so you can't deny that I've not asked you this question. And you've replied that I am your Lord. So in other words, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the sense of how He's created us, is created us so that we must know who our Lord is. And this is
Mm.
the sense. So we see that why is it that we actually falter with this secret of secrets? And this is what Rumi tries to show in the Masnavi, and how you open up uh, your nature in order to know Allah. As I
Mm-hmm.
told you, there are two of views. There's lower nafs and there's ruh. So you have to be the
Mm-hmm.
ruh now, Najma. And this is what Ramadan tries and do for you. You have to connect to the ruh, not to the lower nafs, not to nafs
Mm-hmm.
al-amara or nafs al-lawama. That's a blaming type of egotistical sense, which actually
Mm-hmm.
Adam alayhi salam didn't get right in Jannah. So he actually found himself on this earth to get back. And you start with forgiveness. And Rumi deals with these kind of symbols through his poetry, in magnanimous ways. And
Mm-hmm.
also the stories are also such that leads you to understanding. For example, I think many people, there are 261 stories and allegories in the Masnavi.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the stories is the one of the elephant. I don't know if you know that story.
No,
It's something in
the
India.
popularly known one is the Leila Majnun one, but
Yes,
I think that's also misinterpreted in the sense of romanticizing, a relationship, as it were, a romantic relationship. But there's so much more to it. Do you want to share the story of the elephant before
yes,
we
I
take
can
our
do
next
that
break?
very quickly. I know we're moving on time again. So the thing is that when you look at the idea of the elephant, there were people in India who is displaying an animal in an elephant in a dark room. You know,
Mm,
so people were asked to see what is it that they will make out of this kind of creation in this dark room. So they use their palms. So first person goes and perhaps, I mean, just to summarize a bit, touches the trunk,
mm,
and it feels like a kind of a pipe for
mm,
this person. So it says a pipe.
mm,
Another person goes and uses his palm again and puts his hand on the ear, and he said, "Well, this looks like a fan."
mm,
Feels it's a fan. Another person goes and touches the leg of the elephant, and he said, "Look, this is the pillar." And then Rumi says, if each person just had a lamp in their hand, they were able to see what they're seeing. Now, you see, this is a very beautiful way of expressing that the broader essence of how people look at the perspectives of their religion. They look at it from one point of view, but the essence of that, you must look at it through the nur of Allah. You must look at it like the light that he's talking about is the essence of the light that will make you see everything. You see, so
right,
how is the
right.
interpretation? Okay,
I
so you have to
understand.
look
All
at
right,
and
right,
then you look at the bigger picture of the elephant. It's an entire aspect of the universe, or it may be the point of all the aspects of the religion. Don't look at the religion just with the trunk or the ear. Try and understand that the religion is a complete way of life. Okay,
mm,
and the way of life is as such that Allah has placed His nur and light within us through His breath. Am I not your Lord? So you have to touch the essence of all of that to try and find the universal value of this particular elephant through the love and light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say to you, Najma.
indeed. When we come back, we speak about, just to give you an idea, in general, book 1 and 2 on the lower nafs and ruh, book 3 and 4 reason and knowledge, book 5 and 6 universal ideal, that man must deny his physical earthly existence to understand God's existence. This is borrowed from AbuBakr Karolia, actually, the information he shared with me. I will elaborate on that after the break.
impact this Ramadan, donate your zakah to Ashraful Aid. Your zakah can help feed an orphan, support a widow, build a home for a refugee family, sponsor a HIF student, and much more. With Ashraful Aid, you can make a real difference. Visit our website at www.ashrafulaid.org to make a donation. Make your Ramadan meaningful with Ashraful Aid.
Freedom Stationery supply Marlin and Marlin Kids pens to me and my school friends. They supply just about everything we need to help us get a better education, from books to files to rulers. In fact, any any accessory we need. Freedom Stationery. Education for the nation. What does accessory mean?
This Ramadan, spread the love with Sunshine D margarine, the perfect addition to your seri table for spreading, baking, and cooking. Sunshine D is rich in essential vitamin A, E, and D, and is the tastiest way to get their day or night started. Sunshine D tastes nice, no lies.
At Sentio, our Invest for Good philosophy is based on a genuine desire to use our investment skills for the benefit of broader society by investing responsibly, giving charitably, and developing talent that will transform the investment industry. Visit www.sentio-capital.com for more information about our Sharia investment products and start saving with us today. Sentio Capital. Invest for good. Sentio Capital Management is an authorized financial services provider.
In the aftermath of the tragic earthquakes in Syria and Turkey, thousands of survivors are struggling and in need of food, shelter, and life-saving aid. This Ramadan, take a closer look at the countless lives that have been turned upside down. You have the power to help. Your donation is the lifeline, a beacon of hope in an otherwise hopeless situation. Please donate today. Visit donate.unhcr.org/Ramadan-ZA.
These days, I'm more health conscious than ever. So tonight, it's stir fry for dinner, cooked in healthy Helios pure sunflower cooking oil. Helios is pure sunflower goodness, packed with omega-6. That's good for your heart, and is approved as part of the Heart and Stroke Foundation eating plan.
Dinner's ready!
Helios, pure sunflower cooking oil. A healthy family is a happy one.
Africa Muslims Agency invites you to visit us at our new office space on 31 West Street, Houghton Estate, Johannesburg. The new AMA office will provide a space to connect, share, volunteer, and donate in the heart of the community. Find out more about how you can make an impact with your zakah this Ramadan. Office hours are 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. daily. Call us on 0100 722 262. Africa Muslims Agency, empowering, educating, inspiring.
Salam Media, your spiritual companion this Ramadan.
So when we talk about the spiritual essence of Rumi's teachings, then there's one aspect that you touched on last week, and that is the Sama. And what is its spiritual significance, Brother Abu?
I might just tell you that actually the Masnawi starts with Arabic. Actually, it's an Arabic paragraph before it goes into Persian.
Right.
And it starts off by saying that the Masnawi is the root of the root of the root of the deen. Okay? And in regard to unveiling the secrets of obtaining a connection with Allah and certainty and the truth, you see how the Masnawi starts now. And now the Sama. Sama is a beautiful expression of the whirling dervish. You know, you see how they kind of do the twirl. And, you know, one hand is upwards to the sky and the other one is to the ground. One foot is grounded on the earth and the other one is rotating with the universe, almost an electron, one would say.
Right.
So the Sama is something that is relating to the fact that we know it when Rumi went to Zarkubi with the tapping of the goldsmith and Rumi started doing the Sama.
Right.
The question mark is this, that he was teaching to say where the Sama comes from. This is Rumi. And he attributed to Hazrat AbuBakr Siddiq. So there's this quick story that that there was the idea that the Prophet was asking for funds for particular funding a particular war, and I think the war didn't take place ultimately. And Hazrat Umar thought he's going to now beat Hazrat Abu Bakr in his charity. So when Rasulullah asked for charity, Hazrat Umar brought half of his wealth.
Mhm.
And he asked, of course, and then so he saw in this was a lot of money, like really. And then Hazrat Abu Bakr came, he bought money that looked like that, a little less. The other one is Hazrat Umar was like that. Abu Bakr, they both brought money. So then as Prophet asked Hazrat Umar, what did you bring? He said, well, look, I brought half of my wealth and I left my other for my family.
Mm.
And then he said, Abu Bakr, what did you believe? He said, look, I only left Allah and the Rasul for my family. I brought everything. So, in other words, even the little or the more, Hazrat Umar thought, how can you compete with a man like this? So when Hazrat Abu Bakr went back to home, as Prophet asked, now this is an extension to the story. Okay, it's I think written by Toysan Baruch, or is it written by Muzaffar Ozek? I'm not sure, but it is there. But Rumi does teach it. And he says that, where's Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq? He said, well, Rasulullah, he gave everything. So he's only got like one garment. So he has to wash it and then he can't come. So he said, look, send him this garment. Maybe he can come. So even that garment was not enough for him when Hazrat Abu Bakr received. And Hazrat Abu Bakr put it on with a bit of leaves. And you know how the Arabs were very now. Hazrat Abu Bakr is a wealthy man. It's very simple now. And as he was walking back to the Prophet, they said that Jibreel Islam came to him and said, Hazrat Abu Bakr, Allah is so pleased with you, what you've done. So they say that is when Hazrat Abu Bakr did a flip to her. Okay.
Okay.
So it's attributed to him in the sense of the tool of the love of Allah in terms of the world. So there's a bit more to it than what people understand it to be. Sometimes this is not properly explained. So I just thought let me get into the other books quickly.
I don't think what you can do is name them, and then I want to
I'm just
end
going to
off.
name them.
Yeah, and then I want to end off with the his passing, and very
Yes,
quickly that
very
wedding
important. Thank you.
celebration. So we need to do this within 3
Yeah.
minutes.
Okay, so we got the Divan Shams, which is called as a Divan, which are really the words of Samshul Tabriz. We have the 7 sermons, which he gave in the mosque, which he talked about Quran and Hadith. And then you have his letters. Sorry, you have also Fihi Ma Fihi, which are 71 sermons. If people want to look at it in a summary form, they can read that book. This is translated by Arbery or Texan. And then you've got the letters which he wrote to his family. I wish I would have got able to mention one of them, but I can't now. So they're beautiful in a way. He gives guidance to the politicians as well as to people of that time. So there you have that, Najma. And now we, of course, maybe get some views of those people that can benefit from his work. You may want to read books of in a novel form, but it's a novel, which is Alif Shafaq, The 40 Rules of Love. Then you may want to go on to progress and to read some academic books. And there are some really amazing books. The best book, in my opinion, well, there's no such thing like the best book, but a particular book written by Franklin D. Lewis, Rumi, Past and Present, East and West. He's done that extensively. Okay. It's an extensive work. Then you've got Anna Marie Shimon. She's written A Triumphant Sun. She deals a lot of the imagery of the poems of Rumi. What is the relevant of the ant, the relevant of the mosquito, the relevant of the Quran, and all of that in there. Okay. Then you got William Chittick, an amazing scholar who also writes about me and Rumi in terms, and many other books. Brad Goods also, if people want to read some incidental stuff, they can read him. Javed Mojadadi has translated 6 volumes freshly from a Muslim point of view. And Kabir and Kamil Hendensky has also written some poems. Omid Shafi and many others. And also just to tell you that we do have a Rumi class, and we actually have a Rumi WhatsApp group as well. I don't think there's much space on it. It's a very stable group. So if anybody wishes to join, let me know. Look, I'll be selective now because we only got about few places now left. I don't know where you want to take us now, Najma. We don't have much time to go.
Yes, absolutely. Just one more minute. He's passing away in wedding. So he passed away in 1273.
Yes.
And his burial place is now recognized as a UNESCO heritage site.
Yes, in fact, they also have something called a celebration. Like Rumi's death is almost now looked at, that he himself said that that please don't mourn, I am getting sick, and he composed a poem to the effect of his death, and people
Right.
wailed because they realized that he was going to be passing away anytime. And then he said, when we are dead, he said, seek not our tomb in the earth, but find it in the hearts of humankind. So you must remember that that particular day is celebrated on the 17th of December in Konya. And he asked you not to mourn because he believed he has merged with his soul to know Allah. So he believed that he has done that. He can only ask Allah to accept that. And this is the journey that we must be happy when we actually pass away, because we are going into our next journey, which
Mhm.
is in barzakh. But if we can do it in this world where we die before you die, there's another concept I can explain later. Is just that you die before you die, so you touch your ruh. We think we're going to touch our ruh in the afterlife. It may be too late for that. So that's why you have to be redeeming yourself now. Use this month properly, effectively. He's also written about Laylatul Qadr, as you know. He's written about so many things. So, in a ending and appropriate sense, is just that for him, the whole aspect of his life in every way was to love the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, and in detail, and to deal with the love of Allah. So that was the only redemption he had when he met Shams al-Tabriz of that morning. He realized that the only thing that can suffice him of any morning, only any reality of life, is now to find and connect with his soul that knows Allah, the Most High, and to
All
be
right.
honorable in the way that you behave. And there's a whole idea of adab for people of the Matnabi ruling. Then we also have the Mahlavi order, as you know.
Okay, I'm going to have to stop you there. I'm so sorry, Abu Karolia. We've run out of time again, and I know that people tuning in are also complaining that the time is too short. I agree with them. I wish we could continue. Inshallah, we'll catch up. But of course, as Brother Abu has mentioned, there is a Rumi group, so perhaps you can get in touch with him and find out more about where you can learn more. It's been such a pleasure, Jazakallah khair, for giving us your time for the last 4 Tuesdays in Ramadan for this special series. May Allah reward you. May Allah accept it from
Ameen.
all of us, inshallah, with the right intentions. And like you said in the beginning, forgiveness in the last few days of Ramadan, the most holiest night, inshallah. And blessed Eid al-Fitr to you and your family.
And to you too, Najma, and to your listeners in every way. And we appreciate that we end off with this dua to say, Allahumma innaka afuun tuhibbun afwa fa'fu anni. May Allah accept us and forgive us. And we ask Him for this dua and make it easy for us in this world, inshallah. Thank you. Thank
Ameen.
you for
Jazakallah khair.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Next up, we speak to Kari Bashir Patel. Of course, he is our Quran science expert, and we talk in the last episode on the preservation of the Holy Quran.